thank you for, not making the severe cuts, for using the reserves and these other measures of efficiency that you did. I think it was a real wake-up call to the community. I heard a lot of constituents saying, oh my gosh, you read what could happen to our schools. So I really like the public awareness that you're giving out to the public. I was so impressed with your annual report. Who's ever responsible for that? If people read that, they could see that there isn't any fat in this district as far as I can see. You're doing more with less every year. And as far as the fiscal outlook for the state, I'm hopeful, of course, that even though the economic forecast looks flat right now, we'll find out next Monday, the 19th, what it looks like. But I think since we heard from thousands of citizens in these listening tours you did, from your fiscal discussions around the county, that people want everything. They want music, they want counselors, they want gifted, they want ELL, they want 10 or 15 varieties of special ed. The education today is not like it was when I was in school 100 years ago, where we all kind of looked the same and we all talked the same language. The kids who had special needs were just dropped out. I think we're doing so much with the inadequate amount that we have, but we are having to reallocate what we have until we get more. So I'm going to be working with the TBD project. I hope you are too, so we can figure out how are we realistically going to fund our future.
And that's I wanted to segue to work that this board is committed to in terms of community engagement and engaging our communities in dialogues. Small roundtable discussions is what we did on January 28th. It was phenomenal because we had 550 people from across the county turn out on a beautiful Saturday morning to give input on what their funding priorities are. And you're right, they were very consistent though in terms of what they said. They said protect music. All those, the list that you gave, I think is spot on. We're now looking at a date of April 28th for our next series of community engagement conversations. Similar model. It worked well. We got very good feedback. People particularly like the small roundtable conversations and being able to listen to different points of view, I think, as well. We're looking at having that conversation about here's what we've done, where do we go next, what does that look like in terms of our expectations for our kids' education in JeffCo.
What time on that day?
We haven't nailed down a time. We did 9 o'clock on January 28th, so it might be somewhere in that ballpark. That's your Saturday forum?
No, I'm giving a keynote address at the Triad Early Childhood Conference in JeffCo that morning.
Oh, is that
At what's her name? Pat Bolton and Chris Robledo from Red Rocks.
Now they're bringing in a special guest speaker.
Oh yeah, but she's on Friday.
Okay.
I don't remember her name, but
Yeah.
she's Friday morning.
Between the two of us, we'll come up with an event.
Yeah.
So Senator Hudak, we've been talking about the decisions that were made for the upcoming school year, what 13-14 looks like. We've been talking a lot about whether there might be a change to state level regarding tax policy in coming years, what that could look like as well. Some specific issues related to education policy. Any thoughts you'd like to share with us, or issues in particular related to K-12 policy changes in the session this time around that we should be aware of, or that you're watching closely?
Well, the School Finance Act isn't out yet, so I don't know, about the funding. As Representative Schaefer said, we're waiting for the forecast to see if we have to make more cuts, considering that we already gave some supplemental funding this year. And I know that what that meant is you didn't have to cut more from the current year's budget, right? But actually, maybe you did, because I'm trying to remember what it covered. It covered growth but not inflation, something like that.
This is the current year.
Current year.
We received about 1.9 million. But we hadn't planned for that, and we had planned our expenditures, so it all evened out. So we did not have to cut more, but we wouldn't have had to cut more anyway. we planned.
Okay, well, and the state obviously planned too conservatively. We always try to be as conservative as possible, and usually it works. The last 3 years it didn't, but it did this year, fortunately. I'm just concerned that we heard all through the fall, don't implement any more reforms, because no more mandates, no more reforms, because, you know, we're up to here, and we haven't implemented everything, and we're struggling to pay for everything that's already been passed. And I know that there are a couple of things coming from the House that are additional mandates. So I am concerned about that. In particular, the bill that some of you were here late last night working on, the literacy bill. I am very concerned about that. It's kind of interesting because I read that it's going to be funded by Read to Achieve money. And Read to Achieve money, I was on the Read to Achieve board for a while, you know, when I was on the State Board of Education. And that money helped pay for summer school and other extra programs for schools that had a lot of challenges. And so if you take that money away from there and you bring it over here, I don't know that you gain much. You know, I have my own ideas about literacy because I was an English teacher, an English major with a minor in reading, and I was a reading teacher. So I have definite opinions about what's proper with literacy, and plus when I was on the State Board of Education, we were implementing the Colorado Basic Literacy Act. And the problem with that was always that it was never funded. I was actually the PTA lobbyist when that bill passed, and I sat and observed the House and Senate Education Committees, and they decided to fund it at 10 cents per student, which is a setup for failure, really, because that's not adequate to provide individualized instruction, which the bottom line is, when you have students who are really far behind grade level, they need one-on-one instruction. And you know, it takes more than 10 cents per student to pay for that. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm concerned about that.
Well, no, I appreciate you bringing that up, because we talked a little bit earlier at the top of our meeting about the literacy bill and really believe in the intent behind the bill. But as a board, we decided recently to just continue to monitor the legislation. And one of the key questions we asked when we discussed that bill is, how would this legislation bring us to the next level in JeffCo? And our feeling is that we had some fairly strong strategies in place to address it. And we'll keep an eye on it.
I'm speaking to the choir here, but I agree with you. I mean, particularly the kids who are having problems with reading. You cannot be in a big setting.
Right.
It's even if it's just an hour or two a week, one-on-one, that makes a big difference.
Right, you diagnose that particular students' areas of where they're struggling, things that they don't know, and actually have to start earlier. And you know, I'm a big proponent of quality early childhood, starting right from birth. That you know, kids need to be in an environment that is rich in speaking, so they learn language from their surroundings, and that, you know, people read to them, and they have an enriching environment. If they're in childcare, then it needs to be quality childcare. So I worked in that field for a while, and I saw some childcare that basically was a warehouse for children, where they just sat in a little seat most of the day, or in a crib, and they had no mental stimulation. And so by the time they get to school in kindergarten, they don't have, and you know, it's a fact, they don't have the vocabulary that other kids have. And so they start behind and they're always playing catch up. It's very hard to bring them up to speed. I'm concerned that we would hold kindergarten teachers accountable for the level of proficiency that their students are literate when that wasn't anything that was created in the school. It was what their life experience was, 0 to 5, that determined where they are when they start kindergarten. And then by 3rd grade, hopefully we've been able to help them, but you know, the proof is that actually the Colorado preschool program makes a significant difference if you can still intervene at age 4, then you make a significant difference. The proof is there from that program that those kids graduate from high school and they go on to college and they are successful, productive citizens. And even though they started way behind other kids who had more advantages.
Senator Hudak,